Diversity in characters in games is kind of tricky, how I see it. You need to have diversity, and we don't get a lot of it. You look at the majority of games that have a single protagonist, and you've got white dudes everywhere. It's usually sandy brown hair, the nice rugged jawline, maybe a little bit of scruff. It's the same dude in every game. I'm not entirely sure how we don't get confused by them all looking the same. Or you've got a game where you've got a party of people, and usually what that one looks like is white dude, white dude, white dude, ethnically different dude, chick, and that's your party. And there's always some reason you don't want to play as the ethnically different dude or the chick. They usually have some kind of a hindrance, and you don't end up playing as them anyway. And sometimes you don't even get both of those. Sometimes you just get an ethnically different chick, and they just cover both the bases at the same time. And that is not real diversity. That is diversity for the sake of diversity and just trying to appease everyone who bitches about diversity. What we need is an actual diversity. You need to be able to go to any game and you don't know if you're going to get the rugged white dude, you're going to get a girl, or you're going to... And see, now I just made girls just an entire thing. You got different dudes, but you have girls, which is a whole nother issue, and I'm not going to get into it because you would get bored and I would sound crazy. I already sound crazy, don't I? What we need to get real diversity is we need to really start seeing it in those games that have a single protagonist. And we need to see that lead be something other than the white dude with the sandy brown hair and the rugged jawline. What we need to start seeing is a lead that is something different. And when you've got things like Tomb Raider or Metroid, you've got strong female leads in that. They're your heroes. And I think my favorite part about those games in particular, the story wouldn't have played any differently if they were anyone else. If they were the stereotypical guy that's always the protagonist, if they were Asian women, if they were anything other than what they were, the story could have still been the same. You could have subbed in anything else, and that's what we really need for diversity, is you need someone to be just as strong no matter what their outer shell looks like.
I could go on about diversity forever. So, to spare you that, I'm just going to talk really briefly about a bunch of different things. One is females in games, and females particularly as leads in games. And if you want to get even more particular, females as strong leads in games. So, you do have Lara Croft. The new Tomb Raider came out this year. You have, this year alone, you have Nilin from Remember Me. And you've got, a couple of the big games this year that came out. You've got main characters who are female and who are strong females. But it does feel like it pales in comparison, at least with the big games. It feels like it pales in comparison to how many males you get. And then on top of that, you have this issue of race and ethnicity. You do have Grand Theft Auto 5, which one of the three main characters is a black man. And that's great, but, Grand Theft Auto is also a lot of criminals. And so I don't know that that's necessarily the best representation of someone who's non-white. I think of Walking Dead in particular, the Telltale version. And, you've got Lee and Clem, who are your two main characters, and they're both black, and they're really strong, well done, well designed characters. You've got a lot of nuance there, which is really great, and I wish that we saw more of that. Just the Tomb Raider, again, the Tomb Raider this year that came out, Lara's best friend, Sam, is an Asian female, and I wish that we saw that particularly more in the main characters, that we would get more variety. I also, just as a little tidbit, think it's really interesting that when you start to talk about a lack of females in games or a lack of diversity in games, people's first go-to is, oh, but Tomb Raider. We should have more of a representation. You shouldn't have one go-to. And then you have a million different issues with this, but another issue would be the LGBT community. So when was the last time that you can remember playing as a gay, bisexual, or transgendered character? Because I can't think of any. And I can't really think of anything in what I've played that's a good representation of that community. So I think that that would be something interesting to explore, and it's something we don't really touch on as much when we talk about diversity in characters. but I would like to see different sexualities going on as well, and experimentation with that.
Some developers seem to think that having a female protagonist or protagonist of a different ethnicity would be a risk. But if you think about it, it's not. It seems like every game nowadays has a white male protagonist, and it's boring. And it makes all of the games look exactly the same. Especially with the way graphics are now, all graphics have gotten to the point where you can't even tell games apart by that. And they'll have white male protagonists who are covered in dirt, or camouflage, or armor. No. We need to expand that. Because honestly, if a developer were to take that risk, they would end up selling way more games. Because, one, the factor of publicity, because everyone would be freaking out about it, and two, all the people who are like, oh, that game is different than all of these other games that are always on the market. So maybe they should do that and stop. They're beating a dead horse at this point. I got a lot of feelings. I don't know how to express them properly.